currently the general manager for Business Connect. Business Connect is a woman-owned, woman-run business newspaper. It's the only one in the country with its characteristics. We also trying to refine the reporting of business women in general in Zimbabwe. Because if you notice that the majority of newsmakers, especially business news, are mainly men. If you scroll through the pages of business publications, mainly it's men. So we are there to try and influence the participation, the active participation of women in business in general. Besides that, I also run what's called the Vakundi Trust, which is an NGO that was formed to complement the he for she movement. This is something that is that I'm passionate about because amongst me and my siblings, there's 17 sons. So we feel we have contributed enough men to this population. But then what we say, the world is crying for gender equality and what have you. So it's up to us as parents to shape the thoughts, the behaviors of especially our boy children. So Vakundi Trust was formed on that basis. Before I joined the Business Connect, I've worked for almost all media houses in Zimbabwe. I've worked for a media house in Malawi. I started my media career in Malawi, and then moved to South Africa. I also worked for a couple of media houses there. Then I moved back to Zimbabwe. I've been into almost every news house in Zimbabwe. And during my part-time, I also host a show called Selling Point, which discusses sales, marketing, public relations issues on Heart and Soul Radio. So in a nutshell, that's me. Besides that, I've got two amazing little boys that are watching from home. I hope they've tuned in now. And I'm happy to be here. I'm also looking forward to be learning quite a lot. Thank you.
Titi. And for those who have just joined us, that was our first guest, Titi Naruma, who is a media and marketing specialist by trade and has lived her career out, as she was just sharing, in the news side of things in terms of media. Our next guest is Rudy. Rudy, I'm going to also ask you to introduce yourself so that you can put your best foot forward. So over to you.
Hi, my introduction is probably not going to be as illustrious as Titi's was. The name's Rudy, Rudy Makoni. I am the founder for Raw Dried Fruit. We are now Zimbabwe's biggest producer of dried fruits. We started 2019. The concept started Feb of 2019. And has since grown month on month, week on week, day on day. Prior to that, I have been working with a number of franchisor stores that came into Zimbabwe, namely Mug and Bean, News Cafe, Simply Asia, Ocean Basket, and that was under a company called Vinyl Investments, and I headed the operations for that. I love Raw. I love what we do as a purveyor of dry fruit and veg, because we also have an opportunity to give back to markets. We have an opportunity to work with people who are less fortunate and have less of an ability to reach markets. We value add, and we want to ensure that there is minimization of wastage that goes. I could go on and on about it. Family man, I'm married. I have been married 13 years this year. And I have two wonderful children, one 12, one 8. Because of lockdown, I now work from home, which is fantastic. The office is at home. However, my office is full of food packs for an NGO. So, so I'm doing this from a different room altogether. But it is a pleasure to be on this. Thank you so much, Stimulus, for inviting myself here.
Thank you, Rudy. So that's Rudy Makoni. For those who've just joined us, one of our two guests. He is the founder of Raw Dried Fruit. And I'll tell you now, I guess, why I invited Tsitsi and Rudy to join us for this conversation this afternoon. Tsitsi, I think it's definitely her passion for telling story, her passion in terms of her field of marketing and media, and therefore her unique understanding of how the way we position ourselves in the marketplace has a huge impact on how our decided market views us, or our potential customers view us, how we look and how we appear, which is a really big part of our brand, the conversation around our brand. Do we own that conversation? Do we drive it? Or is it really just happening around us and happening to us? So I'm really looking forward to Tissi's insights from that regard. And Rudy, career-wise, has actually driven some really big brands, some franchise brands, which, you know, may seem easy, but actually building a knowledge, an acknowledgement of a brand in a new market is like running a startup. So it's not as simple. Is that right, Rudy? It's not as simple as it seems to be.
Yeah,
Oh,
very.
McDonald's, of course, it's easy to build a McDonald's in Zimbabwe, but there are probably 13 million people who are like, McDonald's, really? Not chicken in? So that background can bring some great insight. And then I love Raw, the brand of Raw Dried Fruit, the way the brand is communicated online in particular, which for many of our creatives who are tuning in today will, probably be struggling with this sort of new normal we find ourselves in, where there's less face-to-face. The COVID has really changed the way we do what we do, and we're having to
Mhm.
be more online, we're having to be more visible online, but we're also having to try and convert sales online. We're having to try and, really market ourselves online. And it's harder in this part of the world, I think, than anywhere else. In a first world country, it's standard. People shop online and wait for their goods to be delivered to their door. We're not so much like that, but we're being sort of forced into that space. So how do we refine our voices in the marketplace in terms of the way we're communicating our brand digitally, so that we're able to harness some of the wins of digital? I mean, in terms of cost, it's cheaper than traditional media. I think Tsitsi can attest to that. Where we go, how can we sort of define ourselves and maybe communicate ourselves differently? And how has Raw been doing it? I think I'll start with you, Rudy. How have you built this in a year? You've really built a visual, interesting brand. When we're done here, I'm gonna jump in the car and come and get some food packs, because your office is full of. But I mean, how did you
Yes.
start that business? The brand is exciting, but the way you communicate your brand, you've also pivoted your brand to be able to extend to supporting an NGO market, which is something new. Tell us the story.
I think I'll jump to our growth prior to COVID was fairly organic. We were going to shows. It was more of us being able to interact with people. As Rudo mentioned, COVID has changed a lot of that. So there was the ability to always interact with people. There was the ability to chat, to sample, to give samples, and most of 2019 was that. I can attest to say 2019, I didn't have any of the major clients that I currently have now. And it was literally just go to a show, speak to people about the product, have people say things like, in Shona, fushko fruits, and what are you doing with the fushko? How are you, what is this, and you get the most interesting spectrum of what people feel about your brand when they can see it, touch it, taste it, etc, etc. COVID comes and it turns everything upside down, and the need for you to now be playing on the digital platforms is it's imperative. I mean, I don't know of any business that has had growth in the COVID period without having to aggressively market their brand. So we took to Facebook, we took to Instagram. We believe our product is colorful. My shirt is as colorful as the products, and we have a stern belief that the product should speak for itself. So most of the packaging is clear. It's clear packaging. It is, have a look at this, So it is something that we want to create that appeal even online. We want the colors to be captivating, etc, etc. What we've also noted and started doing is we've started working with delivery companies, because we knew that people were still going to be having their offices at home, and wouldn't want to be going out to the shops buying these things. These are luxury items as well. So my need to fight harder is 500% higher, because if I don't fight for a steak, people will choose another snack. There's always another snack to have. So what we've been talking about the benefits. We've been talking about the fact that you can snack healthy. We've been talking about the fact that there is purpose behind the product as well. I always rant and rave about giving back to the community. I always rant and rave about being able to purchase from those who wouldn't have the opportunity to market their products. So the example could be, for example, with mangoes that are coming soon. We then go to the rural areas and we buy from people in the rural areas. We're currently doing that with pineapple where we can. You then find there will be gaps, etc. But we then make people aware of what we're doing. We don't just want to sell a product. We want to sell a story. We want to sell a belief. We as the business, we as Raw believe in our product so much and the ethos behind it. We believe in our vision statement, the mission statement, the values, and we try and portray that in what we say online. You find that from a social media point of view, a lot of what we discuss is about enriching lives, value addition. My most recent conversation online is how we've got a business relationship with a guy whose name is Progress. He sells fruits just outside Rufaro Stadium, and he's progressing as a businessman as well, because he had a small ngoro and now he's got a bigger one. Ngoro being I'm so sorry, I don't know what the English term for Scotch cart?
The cart, no cart.
Yes, well done. Thanks, Titsy. So he's got his cart, and he bought a new cart, and this cart now has an umbrella, and we love that. We love that story because it's captivating, and it shows that even when you're in a nation that is struggling, it was on its knees or is on its knees before Corona, and got even worse during. You still have these success stories, and those are the stories we love to tell, and we love to ensure that our clients know that we have a good relationship with those people. We use LinkedIn. We get most of our good responses from LinkedIn, surprisingly, and Instagram is where we get orders for your more gourmet products, etc. And then Facebook, yeah. So yeah, that's how it's been so far. In terms of growth of the business, if I could discuss that, Rulo, I don't know if that's okay. In terms of the business growth, we've grown probably 3 times faster, and have had such exponential growth during COVID, which is surprising, which is strange, because I know, you know, the stories that go around are, COVID, it's done this to my business, it's done that to my business. And we've looked at it and we've said, listen, we're going to give it a go. We're going to give it a shot. We're going to make sure people know about our brand. We're going to make sure people understand that we are, you know, during the introduction, I said we are Zimbabwe's biggest fruit drying company, you know, and it's not because it's just bragging, but it's because we have grown to that state. Like I mentioned in the introduction, my office now has food packs stacked halfway up the office. You know, I can't even access the office, you know, and it's because we believe in something, we want to grow, we believe that even in this time, we can grow. The last thing I'll mention is obviously now we've partnered with one NGO locally, and we are doing food packs. We're doing dried fruit packs. These are food packs that people like USAID and others have been doing for quite a long time. And our story is to say, instead of sending food to a country that statistically wastes a third of all its fresh produce, invest in people who can dry the fruit, dry the vegetables, dry all sorts of, you know, bits and pieces, and put it into a food pack that can feed. So we started doing that early this month. In fact, we started the conversation October last year, but we've only started doing that this month, and it has been exciting. It is it's tiring. I will not lie to you. It is stressful. You do not sleep. You have no right to sleep. But that being said, it's fulfilling. It's gratifying. I mean, I will share some photos of some of the people who've received these packs, and it tells a much bigger story than the fruits. I'll be hand on heart. It's a much bigger story for me. It's huge for me to be able to understand that a Zimbabwean company can feed Zimbabwe, you know, and it doesn't necessarily have to be aid in terms of food coming from another country, especially when so much goes to waste locally. Yep, I think.
What I love about the real story is that it's an impact story, and often I think that that's where um, maybe some of the smaller startups miss the mark, in that there's a focus on, I just want to make money and, you know, make a name, without thinking through, you know, what is the story that my brand is telling. And even in thinking about, what am I going to post on social media, what am I going to post on
Yeah,
my blog?
yeah.
Do you have anything to say? Are you relevant? Are you contextual? Do you have a conversation that you can start meaningfully through your brand, through the work that you do, through your messaging? And for many creatives, we definitely have. But Tsitsi, how do we do it? How do we, you know, package that, the heart of what we're trying to do as creatives, and present it in a way that is as compelling as what Rudy was just sharing? How do we, you know, structure that? What are your thoughts on that?
Well done, Rudy. So on the works we've done so far, he has put it exactly the way, in a way he has taken words out of my mouth. Um, Let me possibly take you back to when the internet was first introduced. I remember my very first email address. If I'm to tell you right now, I'll be so embarrassed of myself. So let's start from the basics. There are two groups of people, two groups of entrepreneurs in a nutshell. Of course, there are some gray areas here and there, but firstly, it is a marketer. Whether you are a marketer by training, by calling, by passion, or otherwise, but there is a marketer who sees a gap, an opportunity, and wants to satisfy that opportunity. And then the person goes into entrepreneurship. Then there's another group of entrepreneurs, those who see an opportunity to make money. It's just, oh, I can make money doing that. Those are the ones that you normally see that they don't have a story to tell, like what Rudy has just done. They are there for a quick fix, for a quick buck. And once that buck is made, and then people quickly disappear. Fast forward, media has changed over the years. Let's talk about the media today. As if we were to go back to say March, people will be talking about print runs and all sorts of things, but those things have now been eroded by COVID. Media is now online, it's now social. And what do we mean by that? It's now Facebook, it's now Twitter, it's now LinkedIn, it's now Instagram. And in Zimbabwe, it's now WhatsApp. Most of the media now is now being consumed on WhatsApp because of its accessibility and also the cost of data. So as we are now defining the media in that way, the people need to be aware of their presence on those media. Um, it starts with what do you call your Facebook page? Is it properly branded? If you go to Rudy's Facebook page, you can clearly see that there is some investment that were made into branding the page. So there's the issue of properly branding properly branding your presence on social media. The same applies with your Facebook, your Twitter, your LinkedIn. They should all be interlinked in a similar fashion to show that there is consistency. You are saying the same thing in all the different media. Then right now, because of the easy accessibility of social media, it also goes to the people behind those corporate social media pages. It's we no longer in a situation where I would say what I post on my social media as Titi should be different from what goes on the Business Connect social media, because the minute people see Titi, they will automatically connect me to my to the brand that I represent. So what kind of persona, what kind of personality are you portraying? Are you a troll? Are you a bully? Are you that person who in your personal capacity, you go on everyone's page and say things that are unspeakable? You go, I've seen a lot of people do that, especially on certain groups that are on Facebook. But then would, oh, do you know that person who did that? I'm like, oh yeah, that's it's from Business Connect. And what damage does it do to my business brand? So there is a consistency that is required for or expected of us the minute we enter the social media, because you're now putting yourself out there for everybody to see. Yes, I can be seen at a wedding, that's allowed, but what am I doing, what am I posting doing at that wedding? I can be seen out with my girls, I can be seen out with friends. I should be very careful how the rest of the world is going to view me in my social media. Yes, we all need a life. If you want your own private life, go ahead and have your private life. Just don't take it online. Keep it at your home and make sure there's nobody with cameras around and who can post it on your behalf. Um, then I will move on and talk about the one issue that Rudo asked me to really talk about: refining your voice. I'm very passionate about women empowerment, and we talk about women empowering when about women empowerment. Um, as I mentioned earlier on, there is very little voices, very few voices of women in business. But if you look at the bulk of SMEs, they are women owned and women run. So here is my advice of what we can do. I'm particularly speaking to women now because it's something that is close to my heart and also close to our business. The first thing, have on standby or even on your social media, have a good photo that you can post as your profile picture or as one of your pictures. Have your brief profile ready that you can easily share with people. Have a brief profile of your business ready, because there are sometimes when, even the times when I've acted as a journalist, you call somebody and you really want to help them tell their story. Can you tell me a brief of what your story is about, what your business does? I'm like, oh, can you give me 3 days? I need to write that. No one has got 3 days, or even an hour, even 30 minutes to wait. Those things should be basic, should be ready. You should have them handy. Your profile picture, your pictures of your products or your services. You should have a product catalog. You should have even your personal bio. It should be ready as before you even start off creating a social media page. I like the sound of my voice, Rido. You'll need to stop me if I keep on talking.
This like the sound of your voice, and I'm loving what you're saying, which is very true, because we could, and I think I'll get really to jump in here for a minute, because this is something that Raw did, and this is the example. And please Google Raw, go onto their Instagram page, and they, I love what you're doing, Rudy, and even in stretching the boundaries in terms of, creating video animated fruit, when you're promoting the brand. And and I love the fact that I walk into Pick and Pay, my local Pick and Pay, and I see raw dried fruit on the shelves. I love that. Rudy,
Yeah.
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 how are you doing?
It's been first I want to talk about what Titi mentioned. I think even the point you were mentioning for the ladies is so valid for the men as well.
Yes.
Um, we, especially as a startup, I mean, as a startup, you are literally playing Russian roulette. So, if it's hit or miss, and if you miss that big
Mm,
client, if you miss that
mm,
really good client, you will rue it, and if you come across uh, unprofessional, I mean, I used to love wearing shorts every single day, you know what I mean? And I've had to say, listen, okay, I'm gonna have to suffice with chinos and a shirt, because you don't know who you're gonna meet.
exactly.
Sometimes you could be meeting the MD for me, for example. I could meet the MD for OK, and I'm wearing shorts, which there's nothing wrong with. But guess what? Is he or she gonna take me serious when they see
Mm,
something? Especially, I mean, one thing I'd advise startups is, don't. There's this sense of bravado nowadays where we say, "Listen, I will present myself the way I want it. This is my brand. This is me." Da, 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 da. Unfortunately, not the whole country thinks the same way you do, and
mm, mm,
you can have that bravado, but you end up losing so much potential clients and clientele. I'll
mm,
tell you, for the NGO that we signed up with, I
mm,
was at fault for delaying in submitting something. And I think if I had delayed another day, I was going to lose that contract. And this is a contract that, bear in mind, I'd started working on 2019. Going back to, I'd love to talk about WhatsApp. I think WhatsApp has made it so easy for companies and businesses to be able to
mm,
float information. I actually get
mm,
surprised and upset a little bit when you see that someone has, this is a WhatsApp, you know how it says it's a WhatsApp business account.
Yes.
mm,
Um, and the first thing I do is I go onto the catalog, because I always want to see what's in their catalog. So you're saying you're a business that sells tires. My expectation is to see, I want to see tires. Like, all I want to see is tires and tires and tires on your catalog. It's almost, WhatsApp can almost be what has replaced the business card.
yes.
Because it's more than that. It's the business card, and Ziti, you can confirm, it's the business card, it's the brochure, it's the flyer, it's the, you know, about us, it's the price list, it's everything in one, and it's just a catalog, you know, and it takes 10 minutes, 20 minutes. I mean, obviously the stuff needs to be approved, but then, like you were saying, WhatsApp in Zimbabwe is the biggest used social media business tool, you know, and people are making money without having to go onto Facebook. People are making money
without
without
having
having.
to lift a finger.
Exactly, exactly. And my encouragement is that people use that. I mean, I would love Titi to comment on this. I have just recently pitched to a particular business. Now, the pitching of old would have been a phone call. Hello, my name is Rudy. Please, may I come to your offices? I really need to, you know, and you give the whole spiel. Next thing, I'm doing a PowerPoint presentation, you know, 10-point plan, this, da, 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 da. I've got everything, all my gadgets, etc. I did it this way, and I'd love to be corrected if I was wrong. I literally sent a note introducing myself on WhatsApp, because that's how I got their contact details. I didn't get an email. I didn't get I got a number for, or I got the contact. And I literally started the conversation, introduced myself very briefly. And I tell you, when I say briefly, no more than 7 lines. And then I put my catalog. You know, even in the event that someone, you know, you could have people who don't actually know that you can post a catalog or you can view someone's catalog. And I put it on, and that created interest, you know. And today is the day when I actually went to drop off samples. But my viewpoint was that in using WhatsApp, in using social media, I was able to give someone something that they can refer to at a later point in time. A phone conversation can be that quickly forgotten. A presentation could also be forgotten. But I felt that it's always, I feel it's necessary to give information that you know can stick. As long as that person keeps their phone, they have that information. Thereafter, you can have conversations, and they can keep referring back to what you initially. I don't know, Tsitsi, I don't know whether you have any comments to my style.
Well done, pam pam pam. Zimbabwe is a Zimbabwe is a very unique market. If I'm okay, by training. He's in his 20s. He's the CEO of that accounting firm. It's not a fly by night thing from what we see. We've for us to accept him to contribute to a column into our newspaper, we through a rigorous process, screening him and seeing what he does. He's got his act all together. So in Zimbabwe, you also have 70-something-year-olds who are also, or 80-something-year-olds who are CEOs of organizations. So it's a very huge melting pot of different generations who are making similar decisions, or who are supposed to be making similar decisions. So one thing that you need to be conscious about is the person you will be talking to. I'm assuming that you did a bit of research to find out who the person you were dealing with is like. If you didn't, you should have. You're lucky you got away with it. But one way of doing it is go onto the same social media. Some people have even, come to my, maybe they would come to they go to my page and they notice maybe it's my birthday, or that day I'm celebrating something, or that day I'm excited about something, and that becomes the starting point of a conversation. So I think the important thing is to research about the person you will be talking to. As we are speaking right now, there are people who will ignore your WhatsApp message. They say you are not serious. They are there, they exist, and we can never discount them because that's how they, well, there you are. And then you'd find some people would say, Flo, if you want to have a conversation with me, you call me on WhatsApp because I'm always on Wi-Fi and it's cheaper. And don't make me assume you've got enough money to be calling me all the time. There are people like that. So do a bit of research about the people you want to be talking to. Find out just a brief about who they are and what they are about. It'll soften the ground for you into, finding an easier or an easy, well, a clever way to communicate with them without embarrassing yourself. So yeah, that's I'll just say, in a nutshell. And I'm more than happy. I'm liberal like that. You call me, and whatever time you talk to me in whatever language, I'm okay. Even if you speak to me in Jabele, I will try to, have the conversation going, picking one word or the other. But there's some people that if you drop a certain language in the conversation, they become upset, they become, so a bit of research is important into finding out the kind of person that you're dealing with. Yes, social media, or yeah, I say this social media is here to stay and we can never discount it, but there are some people who are still stuck, Rudo and them, who are still in Stone Age.
You did
Well,
great
we
job.
will pick up the phone and call them and say hello. Actually, I need to buy a handset specifically to be calling Rudo with. You remember those ones, those big ones with the big round. Yeah, I'm going to call. I'm going to look for a handset for you specifically to be calling you. Everybody else, I'll do WhatsApp calls. Then the other thing is, when I was talking about branding, I think the the challenge comes in where most of our businesses are not properly registered. We, as Business Connect, on an annual basis, we hold what we call the SMEs Expo. Some even fail to come to the expo because they're not registered. Like for this year, we've got a virtual expo, and you need to be registered. A simple registration at the company registrar. I'm not sure whether it's whether they don't have the money, or I'm not. We're still yet to find out exactly what holds people back, or companies or SMEs from properly registering, because it's, if you're not properly registered, it hinders your branding process. I don't want to brand raw. What is yours, Rudy? I don't want to brand my I don't want to give my to go on flat out, create a logo and whatever, and then only to wake up one day to say, no, you can't use that name. And the only way you can know is to properly register your business. And you said you were going to make a presentation, and you know sometimes they'll ask for your registration certificates, for your tax clearance and things like that, and you don't want to lose opportunities because you haven't followed simple steps of registering your business. There are various even NGOs that help people register their businesses. I think at one point, you were helping businesses, startups doing that, if I'm not mistaken.
We still are, yeah. Yeah, we still are doing that at Stimulus.
Um,
Yeah. So I
if I
think it's
could, sorry,
the
if
branding
I
the
could,
branding process begins at registering, properly registering your business, and then it gives you the confidence and the drive to properly brand your business whichever way you want. And you're not always looking over your shoulder to say, what if some people see that I'm not doing, what if the taxman does that? Just do the right thing. It will help. It's got more benefits than negatives. That's why you see how big businesses have grown. There could be a tender for $1 million. You lose out on $1 million because you don't want to invest $100. We are in a way shooting ourselves in the foot. So the first simple steps to make is get proper registration as a business. That's the beginning of branding.
I think that, and really, certainly, I'd like you to jump in. I think the challenge that very early stage startups face is almost in a sense registering too early. So before you've got proof of concept, before you've got a customer, there is I guess a trepidation that, okay, well, if this all fails, I'm going to have Zimmer breaking down my door and taking my sofa and one TV when I've made no money. So there's that sort of mindset and sort of concern in the entrepreneurial space, which is understandable. But in the same breath, Titi, I agree that we need to be very much aware in terms of the name you select. Going and doing a company search or a trademark search for the name that you want to use is really important, because
Mm, mm,
find yourself, as you rightly say, in a position where you're building Raw, and then you get slapped with a $20 million lawsuit because Raw has been registered by someone else and protected in your country. So it's really, really important. And
mm, mm,
afternoon, we've got some Malawians also on the call, which is fantastic. So it's a bit of a regional conversation around it. So it's looking at the company law and the trademark law in your country, and being able to
mm,
do the search for not just the name but the mark, so that you are sure and confident that no one else is
mm,
doing it in the short term whilst you're testing the market. And I think the next stage would definitely be
mm.
register the trademark, particularly if it's unique. And you can do that in your
Yeah.
local trademark office, for at least for your country as a start. And here in Zimbabwe, I believe it used to be 200 bonds, was thereabouts, to register your trademark. So it's not prohibitive. And that's a step in the right direction towards full registration as a company. But taking those steps to protect your intellectual property, so that
Mm,
you're not making a lot of noise
Yeah.
about something that will be then a huge lawsuit for you, where you're like, what do you mean this is your name? But I came up with it in my bedroom. But sadly, not every there's, as Solomon says, there's nothing new. So as you're sitting in your bedroom in Harare, somebody sitting in their bedroom in Blantyre coming up with the same idea, because they've been exposed perhaps to the same media or
yes, nothing is new under the sun.
under the sun. We need to be making sure that we're not duplicating an existing brand. I absolutely agree with you there, Titi. Rudy, you have one to
Mm.
come in and just speak to this issue as well.
Okay, just with on top of this, just to discuss the registering businesses point that was mentioned by Tsitsi. Very, very valid. I was fortunate enough to come to Stimulus when you did have, I think it was, you had a couple of people who came from a bank, I think, or no, or Deloitte or something like that. Um, yeah, and they came through and they were talking about, intellectual property, etc, and as a startup, you you get concerned with other things. So when you start your business, and I'll go back right down to registering, you're more concerned about, will this business make money? Will it, will I make money? Can I sell? I need to get this. I need to buy this. I need to etc. The first thing I would encourage people to do was what Titi mentioned: register your business, and that's with the local authority first and foremost. Because not only can you get, or will you get a slap on the wrist by international companies, you can also get that locally, and it could end up being quite messy. So that was the first thing that Raw did. Raw made sure that we had company papers, and I'm fortunate enough that, having worked with a larger business prior, I understood both the advantages of doing that and the disadvantages of not. I've seen companies get burnt. So for me, from a compliance point of view, that was the first thing I ran to do. Is my business registered? Is the name available? Etc. Secondly, I then had the opportunity, obviously, to go to Stimulus. It was fantastic for me because straight after that, I went to, for those in Zimbabwe, I went to Aripo, which is in Avondale, and I started the process of just protecting the intellectual property. The moment you go onto social media and you put your brand out there, do not be naive to think that there aren't people who can see the potential of your business and will go and register it in a neighboring country. They won't even attack Zimbabwe, or for those who are listening or watching from Malawi or other countries. They won't attack your country, but they will go to neighboring countries and they will spend that money because, not because they want the name, but because they want to sell you the name at a huge cost. And you know, as your business grows, you want to grow with that name, whether it's here, whether it's in Europe, whether it's in Dubai, etc, etc. Something we are doing now is we are also going past the .co.zw and we're going into .com now, because we are confident that the brand will be able to export at a huger scale. We're confident that some of the products that we've got in the pipeline will be going into Europe and Dubai. So us ensuring that there's a .com with our name is crucial, and that's something that we looked for as well. And maybe, you know, just an encouragement is, you know, last year, the beginning of last year, when this business started, you know, I mentioned so many of these things, whether it's to my wife, whether it's to my family, whether it's to people who would listen. You know, I would mention these things to say, this business will be like this. We need to be exporting. We need to have a presence in social media. We need to. But there is the misconception that you can have this idea and everything will just fall into place. It won't. You have to also do the dog work. You have to work on your brand. What does my brand look like? Am I proud of my brand? Can my brand be international? Is my logo protected? You know, is my logo saying what the brand is? So I did that long ago. So I've got one example, and I really hope you can see it very clearly. We had a concept in March of 2019 about a particular product that we wanted to do, which was which was like gin infusion tea bags. And Rudo, I owe you something. I've got something coming your way.
Yeah.
So we designed this thing and we put in the hours in March of 2019, but we only produced this thing last week. So it's an encouragement for people to stick with certain things. I've got the design here. I hope it's really clear for you to see, but that is that's our next little thing. So what it does have is it has an assortment of infusion tea bags, you know, so it's got different flavors in a tea bag, and you can put it in your water, you can put it in soda water, you can put it in beverages of your choice. But going back to the point, this brand here was thought of, was we worked and we ground out so hard, and the very design that you see here is what we spent almost 8, 9, 10 hours in March of 2019. So it's about having belief in your product and working towards that. But going back to what Titi mentioned, you then have to protect it. You then have to say, this is my baby, and how do I protect it? How do I keep it safe? Keeping it safe from a compliance point of view, in making sure that your business is registered, and then keeping it safe from a intellectual property. You know, I worked so hard for this, and I will ensure that it's not something that is then taken away, or someone takes advantage of me not doing the other grinding, the other work in the background. So yes, one thing I would say to Stimulus is keep doing what you're doing in terms of encouraging businesses and teaching businesses, small businesses, to do that part as well, to do the nitty gritty, to ensure that you've done and played your part with getting your businesses secured and registered.
Absolutely, and it's definitely foundational in building an entrepreneurial enterprise. I'm going to ask Dineo, who is my counterpart in Malawi. She runs Zuka Africa Malawi, which is also another hub that supports creative and entrepreneurs in general in terms of building capacity. Danae, I don't know if you want to say maybe a few words also just to share in terms of how one goes about protecting their intellectual property in Malawi. I think Janelle might be having a mic challenge, so we'll come back to her. Absolutely crucial, Rudy, what you're saying, and really insightful, because there is often, and we see it a lot, where entrepreneurs want to miss steps because either they don't see the value of it, the short-sightedness of, maybe it's also an element of a lack of belief that you can actually build something that can really scale beyond your city, your country. And this is where, when we're speaking about refining our voices and building a brand, it's how do we get from where we are and move forward? How do we, scale beyond? So I'm just going to ask Dineo to jump in at this point so we can get the Malawian perspective.
Thank you so much, Rudolph, for organizing such an insightful session. And thank you so much, Titi and Rudy. I've learned a lot from you. Actually keep on posting on our creatives group about what you guys are discussing. So jumping into the intellectual property, what we do is that we have a relationship with the Register of Companies, whereby for each and every training that we conduct on entrepreneurship and also on creative enterprising, we invite them to help explain how the creatives can actually be able to protect their intellectual property, and also can take them through the issue of trademarks and all that. Because in Malawi, we've got about two legally, I'll say, authorized entities that can take you through, for the ones that don't want to pay money, that can take you through the process of how to protect your intellectual property. So currently they do it through, there's a program that Malawi is running through Mzuni, is the University of Mzuzu, that helps entrepreneurs to prepare accordingly to protect their intellectual property, and also the Register of Companies. So we are in the process of getting the register to certify hubs, because we think that there's an information gap, especially when coming to the creative industry, where to get the information, how to get the information. And when we talk about intellectual property, people think that they need to start protecting their IP when they're already known, and they don't know that it's actually a little bit too late. So we are in the process of working with the Register of Companies to say that they need to appoint hubs as more of their front soldiers, to be able to disseminate the information to the people that need it the most. And currently our hubs are widely spread from the north, the central, and also the southern and eastern region. So we believe that by doing so, we'll actually be able to get that information to the people at the right time. Because also the challenge that we are having when we talk about trademarks and we talk about IP, it's about also how one starts their company. Have you laid a foundation for you to actually say that I want to trademark my company? Have you done a research? Have you, even because you can't trademark anything that it does not look new. So you also need to understand about invention, the difference between invention and innovation. You also need to understand about how does trademarking work. And you also need to understand that as you trademark and protect your entity, in Malawi, you can only do it for 12 years. And from there, you actually need to be able to give the register step-by-step information on how somebody can recreate exactly what you have created. So the law will protect you for 12 years, but beyond 12 years, that's when the law stops protecting you, because it's taken that you have come up with something that is innovative, but then in the process, how can people actually learn from your invention or innovation for them also to advance the economy of the country? So I think I will stop there. Thank you so much, Ruda, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Danae. No, that's really insightful in terms of how to protect a patent in Malawi, and that it's only protected for 12 years, or a utility model. That's really, it's useful information to know, even for an entrepreneur seeking to do that. And also knowing the dynamics around trademarking your logo to protect it from being utilized by others, and the name of your company. And these are important things as we're building a brand, because building a brand, as has been rightly said by Daneo, by Tsitsi, and by Rudy, is it goes beyond having, great graphics. And I know that for many of us, when we think about branding, we do think about the fantastic graphics that Raw has, as for example, without thinking about how to protect, and keep that as yours. I mean, even simple things, as Rudy mentioned, they're ready to go register a .com for their business. It's possible to register a domain name before you're ready to pay for a website. So you don't need to necessarily have all the money up front. You can go and secure the name of your brand, and not necessarily launch a website straight away. In the same vein, please never let your website registration, domain registration lapse, because there are people like Rudy mentioned, who troll companies and brand names. And the day your domain registration lapses, they will go and buy it purely to sell it back to you at a cost.
Mm,
Um, at this point, I'd
mm.
really like to ask if there are any questions from the audience. Sungi, Toko, Charmaine, Tafara, is there anyone who has any questions for our speakers, or who'd like to make a contribution to those who are in the call?
I have a question.
Hi, Toko.
Hi.
Please do ask.
So I was listening to yeah, I was listening to Rudy earlier when he was talking about how when they started Raw, it was basically a company that was relying a lot on physical interaction, where people get to see, feel, taste the products and so on and so forth. And after the pandemic, they were kind of forced to venture into the digital space. He also mentioned something about the products having to speak for itself, or rather that's what they believe in, which is also what I believe in. So my question is basically how, after they got into the digital space, how they were still able to let the product speak for itself, especially considering that they had moved away. They were kind of having to in- kind of bargain the tasting, the feeling. People weren't getting that experience anymore. How they still managed to um, basically get a wider audience, and what advice he can give, or even anybody who thinks they can add on to that, what advice they can give to a person like me whose company is basically on the digital space. Like, how can I go about enhancing my product experience for my customers without having having it be physical, if that makes sense. I hope it does.
What do you do, Toko?
I own a business advertising magazine called Elysian.
Okay. I think maybe Tsitsi,
Yeah.
would you like to jump in, and then Rudy, you can also just then contribute some points.
There's a general principle in marketing that says that people buy you and reject the product. If a person decides to buy something that they don't know, it's because they would have bought your personality, that about you as a person, the person who's selling. It's one thing that we use when we're training sales reps, especially the new sales reps. And if a person ultimately says, "Oh no," it's because maybe they would have experienced the product and not liked it. But then you also find that the people who have experienced the product and might not have liked it as much as they have, but they still say, "Oh, I'll buy from Rudo because she is like this, or she is my this, or she is my that." So the very first thing that you need to sell is yourself. You put the product aside, you sell yourself, and and then the product rides on you, because you would have sold them a certain experience. You would have sold them. There are, yes, of course, other outlying situations where the product is extremely good. Like, for me, it doesn't matter who is selling Pringles, I'll buy them because that's how good they are to me. But then there are instances where I don't even know what Rudo is selling. I say, give me 7 of those, and bring 20 more next week, without even having experience. So you have more cases of people buying you before the product. So I don't know what Rudy was doing. I wasn't there, but my assumption is, even as he was selling at the wherever he was introducing his product, people were able to listen to him first before they even experienced the product. I am yet to taste some of his products, but already I've made a conscious registration in my mind. Don't judge me, Rudo. I can see you.
So I'm
I've
actually
already made it.
because you must have to be so creative at the summit where 200 delegates all got to taste raw dried fruit. So that's what I'm thinking.
I'm being honest, but already I've made a conscious decision in my head that whatever Rudy is selling, I'm going to buy 50 of them. Rudy, make the delivery immediately. Uh, then the other thing is that helps is recommendations, where people are not sure about a particular product. It's a recommendations. Most buying decisions of most, if not all, products are done by surprisingly women, whether we like it or not. Even the cars that we talk about right now, the decision, the person who influences the men to buy a certain car is a woman. Case closed. Don't argue with me. Let's have that discussion another day. So most of the discussions, the buying decisions that are done by women. So going back to the issue of branding, how are you packaging your product? There's a certain product that I buy because of simply certain designs that I've seen the canister that Rudy was showing us there. It's beautiful. It's something that I would like to keep forever, even if the product is finished. I would find a good use for it, and that's free advertising for him. Somebody will walk into my house. I'm like, "What's in there?" I would like, "Oh, it's full of everything that I bought in there," but meanwhile it'll be empty. I'm already advertising his product. So the issue of packaging as well is important. Are you packaging it in a inviting way, or is just oh, I'm selling it to a group of my friends, they'll come and get. Yeah, it works for thus far. But if you want to go international, if you want to go beyond your friends, if you want to go beyond your relatives, if I want to go beyond just selling to Rudo, who'll take 1 million of whatever that I'm selling without even tasting, how do I then grow? Then there's the issue of branding, the issue of packaging comes in. When you're talking about the issue of domain registrations, I'm yet to ascertain this, but the story goes that, ever wondered why it's called Fly SAA? It's because somebody had already got an SAA.co.za and said, "We want so many $1 million if you want SAA.co.za." And it was just ridiculously a lot of money. And then there's like, guys, let's create another domain if that's the way. So why not just register your domain? It doesn't. In some places, I think it's as little as $10, or yeah, to register. Yeah, it varies from place to place, but it's something that you can do. And then just lock your domain, because one day you're going to grow bigger than Coca-Cola, bigger than um Apple, bigger than, but someone will be holding your domain. So while you can, make it part of your expenses to register your domain, because that is part of your branding. It's called SAA, but their website is Fly SAA. Really? There's a disconnect. That's there. Um, the same thing. I just go back to when Rudo was asking me about my social media handles. For me, it's TF Naruma all the way. You just Google TF Naruma. It's only me. You will not find another person. Not I'm Flambo Water on Instagram. I'm Chiki Shili what on Twitter. This. Yeah, so it also goes to your branding. If you are raw, just make your brand name be raw throughout. I'm TF Narum on LinkedIn, and TF Naruma on Twitter, on Facebook. I don't have fancy names. What am I hiding if I start having cheeky what, little what, there? Those funny names that I mentioned the issue of my first email address earlier. I don't even want to see it. And sometimes I still get notification. I'm like, what was I thinking? So we are now we are more informed. We're in a generation where we are informed. Let's make use of that. But let me move back to something that I'm so passionate about, that I would also want to talk about. Much as we can wait for the newspapers to reach out to us, much as there's a lot of information sharing that's happening on other social media, the mainstream media still remains valid. Ever notice how when something happens, those people will say, let's wait what the newspapers will say. One thing that I will encourage everyone who's listening here is, you don't necessarily have to wait for a newspaper to contact you. Sometimes you can even contact the newspaper and say, "Oh, guys, I've got an amazing product that I'm selling, and I think it's changing lives." Instead of looking at exporting our food to Europe, where a lot of food is being wasted, uh, we are looking at distributing our food locally, like what Rudy is saying. I'm just retelling Rudy's story. Um, yes, reporters, journalists, and everything may have a lot of information, but they're not people who know everything that's happening everywhere. So sometimes, if you've got an amazing story that you want, and even at Business Connect, we encourage that. We do have a business profile. We're profiling various, especially upcoming businesses, every week, to say, come and tell us your story. What are you doing? How are you impacting the community that you're living in? And it's back to the issue where a business is impacting a community. Demographics tell us that there are more women than men, there are more children. Combined, there are more women and children than men. So if somebody is doing something that's impacting a community, they are doing something that's impacting on men, on women and children, and it's something that is close to our heart. So don't be shy to reach out to media houses to tell your story as a story. Call on reporters and say, "I've got this thing. I'm making donations of so much to that much groups. I've made a signing of this amount of product with an NGO XYZ, giving back to the school I went to, everything." It goes, and you package it nicely. Don't be shy. Don't The worst that can happen is they'll say no, and I mean, that's not such a terrible thing. So reach out to various media houses. I would encourage you to reach out to our media house, Business Connect, and you're talking to me. Rudo can give you my number. We can do your profile for whoever is running a business, and we can also share our story, your story, with our readers. So the traditional media, as much as it's no longer on the newspaper, we are also there on WhatsApp, on Instagram, on Twitter, and everywhere else where people are, because it's the people that make the stories, and it's the stories about the people. So I thought I should just throw it in there.
Absolutely.
I would definitely be in touch. Thank you very much.
Coolies.
And really, I'd like to hear what you would say to Toko about the way that you've navigated this sort of more push towards digital, to just give her some ideas in terms of how she can sort of innovate to be able to have a louder voice so that people can actually, find her publication, engage with her product. Yeah.
Hey Togo,
Hi, Rudy.
how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you. I'm excited to be here. So yeah, it's really exciting, and I love what you asked because I started putting notes and jotting notes down, and it all boils down to a number of things. First and foremost, what I will say is when I was doing all that sampling, going to markets, I didn't make money. I didn't make money at all. And I was very clear about my goal. And I think being clear about your goal, about the goal, allowed me to also be clear about what the next phase was going to be. I knew for a fact that there was no money to be made per se, but it was going to be a period in which I would be able to communicate with people about what the brand is. So it allowed me to interact on a face-to-face. It allowed me to give people the opportunity to taste. And I didn't take any of those days for granted. Reason being is there could have possibly been five, 6,000 conversations I had with people in 2019 concerning the product. And God knows how many other people who enjoyed that product went on to speak about it to someone else. My my approach was targeted as well. So I like what Titi mentioned about your target market is women and children. Wherever there was a school event, I was there because I knew that if you could get the interest of the kids, you have the interest of the parents. So it was intentional. Those were intentional things that I did. What then happened when coronavirus came and COVID came and people were now locked in their doors was I did quite a lot of research into how other businesses operated. Now, my working with the community is not a marketing ploy. It's not a gimmick. I want to say that first and foremost. It is an ethos, it's a belief. It is as good as tattooed on my chest. Like that's how serious my working with the community is. Um, but I will mention one thing when it comes to then being on social media. My approach changed from the taste of the fruit. I didn't speak about pineapple tastes like this, apple tastes like this. And that was how I started my conversation with people in 2019. In 2020, it was more about where's the fruit coming from? Is it benefiting people? And then just a reminder that it tastes as good as anything out there. But the conversation itself changed. So I was talking more about the belief. I was talking more about what we're doing, how we want to empower. Those were the conversations that I was now having. So it changed totally. If you want to sell something to Europe, I can guarantee you, especially with shipping, etc., my product becomes so expensive when it gets there. I need to give people the right reason for why they're buying that product. And if the product has a conversation about empowering impoverished people, and that's just for raw, then so be it. This is what we're doing. This is our belief. And it is something that is really powerful. Yeah, just going through my notes, it was difficult. It did take a lot of time to readjust our conversation on social media. We went on the faith that there were people who knew about Raw. And what we did is we believe in also giving exciting ads and giving things that can captivate. I work when I do my ads, and I'd encourage you, if you haven't already, just to go on to Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, or LinkedIn, it's Rudy Makoni. But on Instagram, Facebook, it's Raw Dried Fruit, at Raw Dried Fruit. I'd encourage you to go on, because what I've done is I've said, I need to ensure that I have people's attention with anything that I do. And if you know that a video for Instagram is 15 seconds, go onto the platform, you will see that every video I've ever posted is 15 seconds. It's not more. It doesn't filter into the next slide. And it's because I want people, as they flick through, to have that attention of 15 seconds, something about raw, and you're done. Right now, Togo, I speak about having good weeks. I speak about how dried fruit will help you in your week. I speak about all these things in terms of building people, giving people what they would love to hear, what they need to hear in terms of being motivated. And here I'm now not even talking about communities. I'm talking about the brand itself. I will go and say, listen, guess what dried bananas will do for you? It will do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. You know, guess what? Pineapple out of season, we've got it, because no matter what time, it's dried fruit time. You know, that kind of thing. So it's about people seeing that we are still valid, we're still out there, and then reminders of where we are. If you're out about in the shops, you know, go to Pick and Pay, go to Spa, go to, you know. So it has changed. People can't taste the product anymore. We're not doing samplings as we used to, but we've also believed we had that period, and we want to ride on what people have said about us, what people have said about the product when they were sampling it. The return business is key, and it is amazing right now. The people who we've worked with since 2019 are still our main clients, are still our main customers, and we're privileged, you know, that people have believed in us for that long. But also, in closing, Togo, it is about your brand and your product. So whatever product it is, whether it is dried fruit or whatever, your promise on when you market on social media must be, and the thing that must stand out is your product. The service that you give must be outstanding, you know, and you will find that people will return, people will come back. You know, I know there was a time I spoke about this and I said to people, I am that confident in my product, and people would think that, you know, I'm showing. It's not about showing off. It's about being able to say, I will put my neck on the line because I believe that my product is that good. And you find that at some point in time, it starts to speak for itself. And what you're doing on social media is just working on the new clients, etc. But that's my 2 cents on the matter. So I hope I've helped. And I think the last thing that Titi mentioned, Business Connect, Titi, when I bring you your products, I'll also be coming for my interview.
Excellent.
Please, no problem. I'll be waiting for you, Rudy.
So something I'd like us
But
to.
just don't close the door on sampling before I have tasted your product. I mean, I think I'm the last person to sample, and then you close the
I
door.
mean, the door isn't necessarily closed. I think wherever and whenever I go around, whenever I go to people and say I've got goodies for you, it's in the hope that they can tell, their testimony can allow 2 or 3 or 4 other people to come through. I mean, it's not done and dusted. However, it is a lot less because of the restrictions that we have around them. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Rudy.
So something I.
That was very helpful. And Titi as well. Rudy, I loved what you said about what I picked up basically was that instead of, I feel like as business owners and especially me as a creative, that when something is not working, we tend to want to explore a new product or service instead of maximizing what we already have. So what I picked up was that instead of doing that, you basically explored other angles to say, okay, the tasting is definitely not going to work. So what am I going to do next? Instead of changing this product, what other avenues do I have to continue selling what I already have? So I really loved that part. I'll definitely be stalking you on Instagram, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn. Thank you very much for that.
Thanks. And just to add, sorry, one more thing, Togo, is, you know, it's amazing how, you know, it's such a difficult market to be in, because sometimes if you don't think that far outside the box, you could end up suffering quite huge. And it's daunting when you want to make those decisions to say, listen, let's look for another avenue. But I would encourage, even in your sphere or your field, to go all in, on, even if you're making, I heard this, I think it's Denzel Washington who mentioned it. If you're going to fall forward. It's not a bed of roses. It's not going to be 100% all the time. There are things, believe it or not, or you believe it, there are things that I have said, this could be amazing. This is the next big thing. And it absolutely flopped. And the beauty of it is, when I then saw that it was a mistake, I stopped quickly. I knew that this thing needed to be severed. I would stop, and then I would move on to the next concept. So in terms of being as active as possible in your ideas and visions, and adapting to the environment around us, be gung ho. I mean, the more we are, apprehensive, they risk. I mean, there needs to be caution with everything that you do. But if you believe in something, I'm the type who says, go for it. And if you're gonna fall forward, and get up and move on. So I really do wish you all the best. I hope at some point in time, or you can give us your handles and stuff like that, and we can look into your business as well. Hey.
All right, thank you very much. I think the easiest thing, I'll do this for everybody on the panel, Rudy, Rudo, and Titi. I'll be sending you requests on every platform that I find you guys on and that I'm also active on.
No
Your
problem.
mic is off, Rudo.
That's all
Okay.
right with me. No
Thank
problem.
Thank you, Coco. I was just saying, if you could also, and everyone else in the call, put your contact information in the chat section, we'll be able to grab your handles and quickly find you and connect beyond this conversation, which would be great. Thank you, Toko. Now I'd like us to just have a little bit of a conversation around the price for elevating your voice, refining your voice. There is something that I think is a bit of a myth to some extent, that because of social media, all advertising is free, um, which is not strictly true. Posting online, yes, you may not be charged to have a page and to be able to post on that page, but in the back end investment around having your logo properly designed, having a brand manual developed for your business, being able to, as Titi said, approach traditional media, and depending on who your target market is, being willing to pay for an advert, maybe in a relevant paper, and to know where to put yourself and where to put your money um, in terms of marketing, I guess, the marketing buck that you spend to build your brand and amplify your voice. There is much to be said about that it's not something that's free. There is a cost, whether it's your time. If you decide, I'm going to learn how to use Canva and I'm going to create flyers, there's a cost to your time for that. Or if you're going to pay someone else to develop your branded material, there's a cost. So how do we, because I know that there's the temptation to say I need to be able to market myself for free, free in terms of no cost, which sometimes can actually take away from you doing your core business, because that's not your strength. If you're a creative who's also gifted in graphic design, or you're able to feel your way through, then you're one of the lucky few. But for many, it's a discipline or a skill that we don't have, and yet we still require the same level of polish. And as Rudy said, execution needs to be on point if you're going to be presenting yourself, and as Titi said, presenting yourself consistently from platform to platform. So it means your banners need to be accurately sized, and your branding needs to speak to each other from place to place. So it's easy to just see, like when you see the raw dried fruit logo, you know it's raw because there's a consistency that comes with it. So I don't know really if you'd like to jump in there, being a startup who looks good online. You know what does it actually take from a cost perspective?
Okay. The first, and I'll speak for myself. The first thing that, from a cost perspective, was my time. It is not you. You don't. You'll be very fortunate if you get a fantastic logo, slogan, etc. on, just like that. It'll be, kudos to you, whoever you are, for doing that. There was a lot of time put into it, a lot of late nights, but it was not only about the color, the concept, the logo, but it's what's behind it. You know what I mean? So there's a time element that I spent saying, 5 years from now, does Raw still sound like a nice name? 10 years from now, does Raw still sound like a nice name? Will Raw sound nice in Dubai? Will it sound nice in Canada? Will Raw be a logo that still looks good or relevant, can also change, can adapt with time, etc. So that took quite a bit of time because there were other options. But this one, as it came through, it stuck and it meant so much more. Um, that myth to say that all advertising is free, that's a myth. I'm so sorry. It costs. We sponsor posts. When we feel that there's something that we need to get across, we sponsor the post. We do it on all platforms. We find it to be key. In the background, I mean, I'm not your most artistic, but I'm also, as a businessman, I then understand that there's certain things that if I am not financially able to hire an advertising firm, I will stick to my abilities. And I would tell people, and this goes back to time, I'll tell people to invest a lot of time into going onto online, just seeing what's there, seeing what's out there. We struggle in Zimbabwe sometimes because we then stay in this shell and we then don't expand our mind, expand the horizon in terms of some of the things that we could and should be doing on social media. Another point I wanted to mention was, sorry, I'm trying to open my device here, is I also spent a considerable amount of money on a site I would love people to go onto because I don't want to be selfish in some of the things that I've seen can help small businesses. There is a site which is spelled Fiverr, which is fiverr.com. You find that it has a pool, or an ocean rather, of people who are talented at certain things, whether it is logos, whether it is adverts, whether it is menu design, whether it is product design, whether it is etc. And you find that they can do these things at a lower cost than what some of the people in the market. And I don't want to take money away from people in Zimbabwe, but I think if people can also go onto these websites and gain an appreciation of how other people are doing it, it could also help their businesses. And I'm talking about ad agencies, I'm talking about design agencies, etc. In Zimbabwe, I feel, being in Zimbabwe, I think there were certain things that I had to seek help, if I wanted to do a very nice, catchy video. But also don't leave it there. Don't limit it to then just them doing it. If you can do it yourself, I mean, I've spent money on programs that are on my laptop, where if I want to throw up my 15-second video, I throw it out on the programs that I have purchased and I've practiced with. But as a startup, I will say, Rudo, the heaviest cost is time. And as an entrepreneur, maybe if you're not paying yourself, you then don't see it. But if you spend night after night after night working on concepts, etc., you have spent money. You have spent money. If you're paying another company that amount of amount of time, you'd be paying quite a considerable amount of money. So, and my last thing is, people shouldn't take what they put, and this goes back to what Titi mentioned right at the beginning. Don't take what you put on social media for granted. Everything you post is going to have some sort of an audit trail. So when you're doing these posts, when you are working on ads, etc., ensure that it's something that a year, 2 years from now remains relevant, remains good, is non-offensive, and the like. So yeah, my encouragement is, one, it's not free. You've got to work your butt off. But there you will reap benefits from it, because you will continue to have a catchment of people who follow, who like. I mean, organically, we're close to, and I'll be corrected if I'm wrong, but we're almost 1,000 or so followers on one platform, and almost 1,000 on another. And that is organic growth. It's with people who have been interested in what we've posted as adverts. So, and that comes through hard work. It's not just throwing anything there. It's about throwing things that are significant, that make an impact, and that people would be interested in seeing.
And being consistent. And definitely, if you go onto the web page, you will
Very
see
important.
consistency in language, in branding style, in what is posted and how it's talked about. It's definitely important. Like Rudy says, if you don't
Yeah.
have the skill set, it's worth investing the resource into getting the support you need to be able to have that consistent language about your brand, so that you remain in control of how you're perceived in the market, as a brand, and as a small creative enterprise as you're growing. Otherwise, you might cringe, as Titi mentioned earlier, at her email address. You may cringe later in a more public way when you've got really not so great branding that, or messaging that you've posted in a hurry because you felt pressure to post something without really having a strategy. And beyond that, you need to be able to have a content management plan. The idea of waking up in the morning and thinking, oh, I haven't posted in a while, I need to post something, that doesn't work. You actually need to strategize and sit down at the beginning of each month and say, what are we posting daily, weekly, monthly? What are the key holidays this month? What can we capitalize on that? Are we able to have a social conversation on our platform? For example, I think the 11th of October was the International Day of the Girl Child. A really great opportunity to have a conversation about an impact story, perhaps, that your enterprise has, that has a positive impact on young women. It allows you to be conversational without selling. Because one of the challenges of trying to market yourself as a girl on social media is that social media is a conversation. So it's not about necessarily always growing your product in the face of your followers, but it's about bringing people in, having the conversation. You heard Rudy say earlier about how his posting started by, what it tastes like, the experience of the product, and now it's pivoted to where it comes from and the impact that you buying a bag of raw fruit has for somebody in Berengwa who literally all of their livelihood depends on selling this fruit. So instantly you've got a conversation that somebody can rally behind. And brand purchase, brand support and brand purchase decisions in Europe are made based on how ethical is your business, how ethical is your process. Does what you do have a positive impact on those around you, and do you share that? Is it easy to trace that? So that's a very important, thread of thought around how we're communicating what we do. And sometimes to be able to communicate that story effectively, we need to make that investment. So it's definitely food for thought. Titi, it'd be great for you to come in at this point and perhaps just add to what has been said around the investment in building your brand.
Yeah. Um, what I can say is creating advertising is can be really costly. In addition to what Rudy has said, there are two other ways, practical ways that you can do. From my experience with media houses in Zimbabwe and also in Malawi, the first thing is there are universities, the students in universities. Get an intern. As an entrepreneur, you don't know everything. Certain things that you're not aware of or that you're not comfortable with. Get interns. I know as you're starting up your business, costs are very key. So get interns or those that are fresh out of school who would like to learn as they get settled. You're also impacting on their lives as they are gaining experience. So as you are building your brand, I'm not saying that you should get interns and abuse them and not pay them or anything. Much as they are gaining experience, but you should also appreciate that you're gaining something out of them. So create a give and take situation as you are engaging interns from various universities. Then the other thing is I'll speak specifically for Business Connect because things might have changed from the media houses that I've been to. You can have your adverts created. If you want to place the advertisements in our publication, we can create it for you for free. That because what we understand is that some people may not necessarily have the advert, but they want to advertise. So how do we bridge that gap? So we can create an advert to your satisfaction. And then we'll place it wherever on one of our platforms, whether it's going to be on social media or in the main paper. We'll create it for you for free. Then the other thing is, in addition, yeah, the various apps that you can also use. But that also now depends on how easily you can navigate through various apps in creating advertisements and if they can give you that extra niceness that Judy was talking about earlier on. But those two ways, I've seen them working, where you engage students from universities and also you engage the media houses, um, and find out if they can create an advert for you for free, which you are free to use afterwards in anywhere else that you would like to use. Then probably the last thing that I'll mention is that marketing is not a by the way thing in an organization, and don't rely on, can you help me sell this product? If you look at organizations as big as Coca-Cola still investing heavily in marketing, that should tell us as entrepreneurs how important marketing and even creating a marketing oriented organization is, as we are beginning our businesses. Coca-Cola, it's still the same product. They still have the same formula that was 100 and whatever years ago. That is still protected. And I think there's only two people. They say two people in the world. We've got the formula, but nothing has changed. But if you look at this year, they've got this campaign. Next year, they've got this campaign. They are now selling us beyond the product. It's what value, open happiness, but it's still those kilo jewels of whatever and whatever. They've been attacked left, right, center of what is contained in a bottle of Coca-Cola. It can clean it and can be used as an engine cleaner. It causes this, it causes that, but we're still consuming it. It's still the biggest, the widely consumed beverage on earth. Even after all that, it's because of now the value. They're now selling value to people. They're selling friendship. They're selling happiness. They're selling. It's beyond the product. So as we are growing in our business, as entrepreneurs, let's look at what value, like what Rudy has said, that the issue of the communities that we're working on is something that is core to the business. If it is communicated through history, 150 years from now, we'll be talking about the same values that Rudy is talking about today. Look at all the organizations that have, the big brands, Old Mutual, that have lived beyond 100 years. Then it's now beyond just a product that they're selling, it's the values. So have values that you stand firmly um, about, that you feel strongly about, and that should be communicated consistently throughout everything that you do. How, if you go to such organizations like Old Mutual, this, they've got a a blueprint of how they expect even their employees to behave, to dress, to address themselves in public, where they should be seen. Because there's an old adage that say, show me your friends and I'll tell you your character. So those things should be even be communicated to whoever will come to join your organization, to say, here we do this, we do that, we do that. Much as we respect that you've got your personal your own personal life, but work still consists a bigger part of what we do. So they even go beyond just what you do at work, even what you do at home. If you are a wife beater, there's no way, and it gets to certain organizations, they will dismiss you on the spot because there's certain behaviors that are expected, um, uh, is part is yeah, part of that brand. So it's part of that brand consistency. I'm like, oh, you're going to work here for so and so audit fame. How are you going to work there when you do this? It's also part of their brand protection, their brand development. So let's go beyond selling the products. Let's sell the value. What value are you selling to people? So those are my 2 cents. And don't think of marketing like as a by the way. Marketing should be at the core of your business, the core of what you do, and communicated consistently throughout everything that you do, everything that you say. Even if you're asked to stand up at a family gathering, people should say, oh yes, don't you know, because that, yeah, she does that or he does that. That's why she's talking like that, or that's how he behaves like that. So that should be communicated consistently. I think one service sector that has done that so well is the banking industry. There's a certain dress code that you expected if you work for a bank. You can't go, dressed like this. At in our workplace, because we are in the creative industry. You can't go with hair like this in some certain professions. I think there was a point where I think Nyara Gusai fought, nail and tooth about dreadlocks in court, because there's a certain, persona that you're expected to have, because of how they wanted to brand their industry. It was just an example. Whether it's good or bad, that's subject to debate. But it's just how they branded themselves. If you're certain, you can't wear loud colors. You can't wear certain things. So branding is not just about the advert. Branding is consistently across everything you do and say. Those are my 2 cents. Thank you very much. I'm sure I've said something that will be of use for
Absolutely.
somebody.
And
And thanks, Rita, for having me.
thank you. You said something earlier that really resonates. I remember, and in speaking, and just thinking about what Toko mentioned earlier about how do you diversify and, how do you stay relevant, and considering, Rudy, your pivot in one way to extend and create a new sort of product line that is supporting through the veg, and how you're supporting marginalized communities. And I remember having a conversation just as we're about to start a program with stimulus with one of the UN agencies. And I remember having a conversation around, oh, maybe you to attract the youth, perhaps you could consider engaging an artist to come in and partner with your program, because clearly there's a marketing element to it that's really important. And the lady I was speaking to was like, oh no, we don't want artists. And I'm like, why not? We've got amazing artists. And she's like, no, because we worked with this one artist, but and we were doing, I think it was something to do with maybe HIV and AIDS programming and safe sex, and really trying to promote sexual and reproductive health rights for young people. And they got this artist to participate through writing a song and doing a jingle, etc. And but then what they noticed is that that artist would have half naked photos and sexual songs on their personal pages for their music brand, and yet they're the face of this campaign that's speaking of a totally different behavior. So this is where another vein around the amplification of your voice, and what you said earlier, Tsitsi, about how who you, people do business with people they like, you know. So the person who you are, the person behind the brand needs to be personable, needs to be somebody you can relate to, and needs to be somebody you can have a conversation with, and someone who you can believe in, but also who has similar values to you, that you can say, hey, I don't mind people knowing that I work with Raw. Like, you know, I was very happy to invite both of you on to the webinar today, and I won't be embarrassed tomorrow when people say, oh, you had who did you have? Because we're very, very thorough about who we invite to come and speak, because then there's a shared responsibility with that, in sharing a platform. And it's such an important thing that maybe we often overlook. So I wanted to just underline that again, Titi, and thank you for raising it. But it's so important because one artist chose to do something, or have two sets of values almost, or have a set of values that was not consistent with the work that they were putting themselves forward for. That person closed the door to a revenue stream for the industry. So it didn't just affect their personal brand, but it's affected the industry, the creative industry, because how many other agencies think like that? How many other donor organizations are like, no, we don't want to do that, because the last time we did X, this is what happened. It becomes challenging. So definitely it's something that we need to think about as we're building our brands, and as we speak in our personal capacity, and as we engage in our personal capacity. Are we on Twitter fighting and saying, you know, using language that's very colorful when we're talking to other people, or do we allow people to have their own views even if they're different from ours, and without shooting someone else down, being able to confidently just say what you believe and respect their opinions? Are we able to do that on social media? If not, maybe we shouldn't be even speaking to certain topics, because we are not able to maybe have a sense of poise, because ultimately you will always link back. You know, often I get this, oh, you're Rudo, oh, you're the one, you're the founder of Stimulus. I always get that link back. So whatever I choose to do in my personal capacity ultimately has an impact on the business, on the work that, you know, we're trying to do. And if I lived in a certain type of lifestyle, I wouldn't be able to do work that impacts women and girls, particularly, you know, the girl child, because people will be like, oh, but we've seen what you do in this area and that area. We've seen the way you are. So that's definitely an important point. And maybe my sort of parting point. And I'd really like for both yourself, Tsitsi, and Rudy, to just sort of maybe give us some parting words of advice as we wind up. I can't believe 2 hours has gone already. It was such an engaging conversation. It just seems to have gone so quickly, but really would love to hear some parting words of wisdom, some advice for that young entrepreneur who's just getting out of the gate, that entrepreneur who's really been battled by COVID, in terms of how they operate, how they connect with their customer, and they're like Toko, are kind of lost in terms of what do I do now? You know, I'd really love for you to maybe speak to them as we wrap up.
Should I go? I think the issue of starting a business is a gift. And sorry, I may sound a bit spiritual right now. I think it's also very, very, very spiritual. It's not something for everybody. There's a certain conviction that you need to have for you to start a business, and then a certain energy that you need to have for you to start and then proceed with the business. It's not something that just happens to everyone haphazardly. And there's a certain level of tenacity that is required, and a certain level of self-consciousness that you need to have if you're going to succeed in business. I'll give an example of how, the brand. I can mention it here because it's, out there. Bezos has just destroyed his brand over a very minor sex scandal. So I think simple things can make or break um, your your business. And take advantage of the people that are there to support you and the people that are there to see your business grow. Don't be afraid to lose certain characters as you're growing your business, because they don't have the same conviction as you do. And don't be that entrepreneur who starts a business because you want to make money. um, be that entrepreneur who wants to solve a particular problem. I think various speakers have spoken about this. Jack Ma, in particular, is one person who has spoken about the issue of uh, solve a problem and then you will make money in the process. So be in that business where you are solving a particular problem. I'm glad that there's my sister from Malawi. If you recall how much fruit is wasted, and I think there have been various debates about the amount of mangoes that go to waste during the mango season. You guys think there's mangoes in Zimbabwe? Wait until you go to Malawi. There is mangoes. I mean, that is the capital city of mangoes. You go to during the banana season, there's just so much bananas that goes to waste because people don't know, haven't invested in ways of preserving them for future years. So if we have a person like Rudy, I'm sure the lady from Zuka was listening. Probably you can even start that conversation with Rudy there in Malawi. Rudo, you've been there. You know the amount of bananas in Muzozo. It's amazing. But come January, we are people are almost starving like there was nothing. But meanwhile, dump sites are full of rotten mangoes. So if you have somebody who moves in like Rudy to solve a particular problem, and I think there was once a research that was done to say that the problems of malaria was also caused because the mosquitoes have something to feed on those wasted fruit. That's why we can't eat. They couldn't contain the malaria problem. So you would have solved the hunger problem, the malaria problem, and several other unemployment problems. So you would have solved the problem as you are doing that. And that is nothing but simply marketing. It's not, there's no rocket science about it. That is the essence of what marketing is all about. And it shouldn't be done as an afterthought. So as we are running around our business, doing what we have to do, let's look at what solutions am I bringing to my community, to the people around me. What friends do I need to lose along the way? What new friends do I need to gain along the way? When Ruda called me the other day to say, Flo, can you come and speak about marketing? I didn't even hear half the things that she said. I just said yes because I know her. Um, I know where we met. I know where she's been to, and she wouldn't drag me through the mud. She wouldn't drag my name through the mud. I immediately said yes, and then I was like, what was I saying yes to? So create that product, create that brand where people will say yes to, and then think about it like, oh my word, what have I just said yes to? That will help you in the long run. And yeah, those are my parting shots. Thank you so much, Udo, and I hope to be able to speak again at this platform. And like I said, Business Connect is here for you and everybody who's on this platform. Don't be shy to get in touch with me, and I can guarantee you we will write about your story, whatever, as long as you are impacting the community that you're doing. And by community, we mean women and children. Sorry, Rudy,
Thank
just a
you.
reminder.
Thank you, Judy.
Okay, all right. My parting words very quickly. Be committed, 100% commitment to your vision, to your brand. Be committed. I will go on quote saying, I don't like the thought of having a plan B. And when I'm saying plan B, it's not about what you do in your business, but the business itself. So raw, dried fruit, dried veg, there's no plan B about it. Ethos, help, ethos, community. There's no plan B about it, because if you do have a plan B, that will ensure that you're never giving it 100%. Like I mentioned, fall forward, fall moving, make your mistakes whilst you're trying things. The internet is the gateway. There's one guy, I forget his name, and he says that the biggest disruption to school itself is the internet, because school was the tool used to equip people to know about certain things. But nowadays, someone just goes online and they know just about the same thing that the educated person knows. So there's a huge disruption there, and it's something that so spend time. Do not think that research is being lazy. Do not think that research is, I'm being lazy and I'm not doing what I need to do. Go online, research, understand your brand, also understand the potential. There's certain things that I do. If I was to tell you, you would think I'm crazy. But then my hope is that next year I would come back and I'll be in a position where I could say, last year I thought about this and this is what came to pass. I like how Tsitsi mentioned that she is of a religious inclination. I believe that if you believe in something so much, it comes to pass, it comes into fruition, it comes, it will happen because of the energy that you're exerting on that thing. So if you believe in your brand will succeed. Think outside the box. It is important. Sorry, I know we're running out of time. Think outside the box. Please, please, please. There is no, like I said before, fall forward. Have these crazy ideas, try them and see that if they work. If they don't, stop them. Don't invest in something that's a failure. Associate yourself with people who build up your brand, being yourself and your business. That is imperative. Iron sharpens iron. If you put two pieces of iron together, they sharpen one another. You do not associate yourself with people who are blunt and who can also blunt your tools as well. It is being a businessman is difficult. Being a businesswoman is difficult. Being an entrepreneur is difficult. It is going to be hard. You're going to struggle. You're going to have sleepless nights. Don't think it's abracadabra. I mean, even Jack Ma goes, and says, this is not easy. To succeed is fantastic, but you will not sleep. Social media is now the way forward. Media marketing, etc. And also what Titi is doing. There are certain things. She made it very clear that, if you go there, you get free ad, you get free this. Take advantage of where we are now. If Titi's company is in a position that they can give you something that you would normally have to pay for, then go for that. You know what I mean? This is where we are now. This meeting we're in, the screens we're seeing, this is the new normal. So as an entrepreneur, do not wait for things to disappear. Yeah, don't wait for that. Do not wait for that. This is the new normal. This is what needs to be done. I wish every single entrepreneur and entrepreneur want to be the very best in the things that they do. And I thank Stimulus for the work that they are doing in terms of building entrepreneurs. I know that my life's testimony and my business will always have a paragraph where we thank Stimulus because of the things that they've done and the fact that they believed in, even when I didn't believe in certain things. You have people out there who are able to invest in you. So if you're looking for someone who can build your business, build you as a person, and that can equip you with so many different things, don't go too far. You can speak to Stimulus. They'll be able to help you. Thank you so much, Rudo. Thank you so much. Thanks, Titi. It was wonderful.
Thank you, Rudy. Thank you, Titi, as well. It was so good. That's our time, but it was awesome having both of you. It was such an insightful afternoon for me, and I'm sure for those who are listening and those who will watch the Facebook Live either today or later on. So thank you both for your time. Thank you for joining us, everyone who's on the call, and those who are watching later, who are at home. We hope that this conversation has sparked something, has helped you in some way to start making positive steps in the right direction if you were finding yourself a bit lost in this new normal. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.